Hello students, in this video we are going to discuss about amoebasis. Amoebasis is a common condition which would be communicated from one individual to another individual very easily. Amoebasis is a very common problem in India. It is very prevalent in small children because the living conditions of most of the people in India is very low and they don't have proper sanitization and they don't have proper place to live and their eating habits are not very good. They are generally anemic. So that is why these people, these children specifically, I would say, would have amoebasis in their childhood. Now the definition of amoebiasis. Amoebiasis is nothing but a kind of dysentery which is caused by an organism called as amoeba. And this particular organism belongs to the group entamoeba, that we call it as entamoeba. So from this entamoeba group, the commonest amoeba which causes amoebiasis is entamoeba histolytica. So what does this organism do? This organism basically affects our GI system or our GI tract. So what is the definition of amoebiasis? It is a known amoebic dysentery, which is an infection caused by any of the amoeba of the entamoeba group. The symptoms of this amoebiasis is very common and it is infection is caused by entamoeba histolytica. This amoebiasis is the most common infection of human GI tract and it is most closely related to poor sanitation and socioeconomic status than to climate. It has a worldwide distribution. Amoebiasis is a disease which is caused by a parasite. So it is a parasite basically, entamoeba histolytica, and it causes dysentery, which we call it as amoebic dysentery. Now we'll discuss with the epidemiological triad of amoebiasis. So in the epidemiological triad, there are three things which precipitate the occurrence of amoebiasis. One is your agent factor, then is your environmental factor, and the third factor is your host factor. So the agent which is responsible for the occurrence of amoeba is entamoeba histolytica. And India, basically, man is the one who is the commonest reservoir of entamoeba histolytica, which will cause amoebiasis. Then the environmental factors which precipitate this condition are plain altitudes, people who live in plain altitudes, then developmental projects where there are many developmental projects are going on, and it is generally present in those areas where the organic matter is very much present in the soil. And then we will come up to the third epidemiological factor, that is your host factor. So in the host factor, basically, there are children who are very much prone to get this infection because they very easily they eat soil or whitewash. So because of eating all these things, this particular organism enters into their body. Then plus your males. Males are also prone to this infection. Then population movement, the area where there are many poor people are living, farmers where the farmers are living, and disease with low immunity. So these are the factors which contribute in the occurrence of amoebiasis, and to people who belong to the category of farmer or low socioeconomic status, and people who keep on moving from one place to another place, males, specifically males, and low children with less age. So these people or these are the factors which, if these factors are prevalent in a host, then he or she might get amoebiasis. So life cycle of amoebiasis. So how do we get this amoebiasis? These entamoeba histolytica is present in the form of cyst. So through the fecal-oral route, we ingest this particular cyst from our mouth. This cyst, when it goes from our mouth, it reaches to our esophagus. And in the esophagus, this one cyst it divides and it gets changed into trophozoite. And then this particular trophozoite reaches to your intestine, your large intestine, and this large intestine, in this large, it keeps on multiplying. These trophozoites keeps on multiplying, and then again, those the multiplied products releases from the stool. And this particular, there are people who just doesn't have a facility of proper washrooms or latrines. So these kind of people usually passes their stool in the open area. So this particular stool which has this cyst uh, pollute the soil, plus somewhere somehow this particular this tool goes into the food items. It contaminates our food items like your fish or your in your this tool goes into your river. So the water that is that we give uh, in our soil or in our fields or in our farms. So whatever vegetation we are getting from those farms where this kind of polluted water is being supplied for the growth of the vegetation, whatever vegetation we get, whatever food we get, that is also contaminated. And if we ingest that particular contaminated food, then we'll get amoebiasis. There are two types of amoebiasis. One is a vegetative amoebiasis, one is your cystis amoebiasis. So this vegetative amoebiasis is the one in which trophozoites are being ingested by the human body, and cystis is the one in which the cysts are being ingested by the human body. The symptoms of amoebiasis is somewhat related to dysentery and or diarrhea, you might say. So the symptoms will be loose and watery stools. There might be blood in that we call it as dysentery. Then fever could be there, fatigue could be there, weight loss could be there, cramps could be there, and abdominal pain could be there. The transmission of amoebiasis takes place from fecal-oral route, sexual transmission by oral rectal contact, and it is also a vector-borne disease. So the vectors such as flies, cockroaches, rodents might transmit this infection. Incubation period of amoebiasis is commonly 2 to 4 weeks. It is very important under diagnosis, it is very important to identify cysts and trophozoites. So we can do this kind of investigation through our identification of cysts and trophozoites through microscope. Also, entamoeba histolytica could be diagnosed or identified through biopsy also. Nursing management. Observe the isolation and enteric precaution. Basically, we have to keep that patient in the isolation. We are not supposed to keep that patient with the other fellow members, and enteric precautions should be taken. Why to take enteric precautions? Because in this our GI system gets affected. So if we are supposed to take all the necessary measures which will reduce or eliminate your GI infection. So for that we can boil the water for drinking, always cover the food and wash hands before eating. What else we can do? We can do proper collection of the stool specimen, instruct the patient to avoid mixing it with urine, label the specimen properly. What else? The third point is skin care. We'll have to maintain, that is your cleanliness of the skin area. Prevention is always better than cure. So to prevent amoebiasis, what we can do, improved water supply. The water which is being supplied in our home should be neat and clean. Water filtration and boiling are more effective methods than chemical treatment of water against amoebiasis. Sanitation uh, of sanitation is an important point. Then in the sanitation, what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to wash our hands before eating and after eating as well. Then uncooked foods and vegetables should not be eaten as they are. They should be washed thoroughly with safe water. You'll have to peel the fruits and boil the vegetables prior to eating on, and always before handling and consuming food. Then wash your hands before eating the food and after eating the food. So that was about the topic amoebiasis. I hope you all have understood. I have taken this content from K-Park, the textbook of Simrat, Community Health Nursing, Baswan Thapa, Essentials of Community Health Nursing, or Kike Gulani, Community Health Nursing Principles and Practice.